Do you have any advice for somebody thinking about coming to Okinawa in the near future?
So if you're coming to visit,
Okay, what's your background?
so I was born in America, but I came to Japan when I was 3 years old. And when I was 10 years old, I came to Okinawa.
So you've been living in Okinawa since then?
No, so I go back and forth between America and Okinawa. Yeah, so every 3 years or so.
Where else have you lived before?
So I've also lived in Ghana. I lived in Ghana for like 1 year, and it was pretty good. So America, Ghana, and Japan.
And have you ever lived in anywhere else in Japan?
Yes, I lived in Yamaguchi-ken, which is like Iwakuni, and I lived there for I think 4 years.
So you went to local school in Japan.
Yes, so I went to a Japanese yochen called Higashi Yochen.
Have you seen many American children at the kindergarten?
No, so when I was there, as far as I'm aware, I was the first American and the first black person to be there. So I looked at their website yesterday, and it looks like they have maybe some people there now, but like, yeah, I'm a pioneer.
Nice, interesting. Have you experienced anything interesting because you're an American at school?
No, honestly. So when I started, they didn't allow me to speak English, which was perfectly fine. I went to school 6 days a week, and I spoke so much Japanese that when I would go home, my mom would like try to communicate with me in Japanese because I just had a difficult time speaking English. But no, they always treated me pretty equally. They actually used to let me take naps in class, and my mom told them to stop letting me do that. So they always tried to treat me equally.
Do you think the childhood experience formed your personality now?
You know, Japan is like ground zero. It's ground zero, you know. It definitely formed my knowledge of Japan and like the culture. But did it form my personality? I don't think it formed my personality. I think my personality is a little bit more outgoing, yeah.
So how long is the total of your experience at local Japanese school?
2 years? Yeah.
So after did you go to like junior high school in America?
So I was actually homeschooled from the 5th grade. Yeah. So I did go to school for I think, 3 or 4 years? But that's about it. When I went to school, I was actually ahead. By the time I got back to America, I was ahead 1 grade. So it was interesting. So yeah, I was always the youngest in my class. I actually graduated at 19 from university at 19 years old.
So do you study or work now?
I'm studying for a test right now. I'm studying to work for Salesforce. So yes.
Is there any experience that you got treated differently from Japanese?
Yeah, so there's this thing where it's like, in Japan, you're either Japanese or you're a foreigner. I feel like those are the two groups. But within being a foreigner, I feel like sometimes people are treated differently depending on your background. Now, have I ever been discriminated against? Not necessarily. One time I did go to the dentist, and like there was this guy. He was speaking perfectly fine English, like it was great. He was having a great time. But when I went to the front to go pay, he had overcharged me. So I had like asked him like, "Hey, what happened?" Right? He literally his entire demeanor changed. He was not happy anymore. He didn't talk to me. While I was asking him the question, he turned around and walked away. So I was like, okay. Yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, there's been like small instances where like we went to mainland recently, and my dad, he was like buying something from the Gap store, and they asked him for his passport, and so he went to go grab his passport, but his military passport wasn't stamped to come into Japan, but his other passport was, because he has 2. And so when he went into the store, it was just really weird and awkward. They wouldn't let him buy the clothes. But when I came downstairs and I was like speaking Japanese and fine, they never asked me for my passport. They didn't. It was just inconsistent. It was weird.
On the flip side, have you taken advantage of your nationality?
Yeah, I think so. I think being American, people are a little bit more interested, especially the taxi drivers and the elderly and the kids. They're always a bit more willing to talk to me, especially if you speak Japanese to them. They're like, where are you from? Yeah, especially in Okinawa. Okinawa is just a lot more relaxed, you know? Yeah, a lot more chill. Because people here, there are a lot of kids who are like half Okinawan or half Japanese and half something else. So a lot of times I get asked if I'm half, even though I don't look it or anything. But I just think that shows how open and diverse Okinawa is, because, you know, they don't like look down upon you or anything like that.
Do you like Okinawa?
I love Okinawa. Yeah, I mean, most of my growing up has been here. I've lived here for 6 years or 7 years. So yeah, practically kind of grew up here. Like, all my milestones were here.
Nice. Anything you don't like about Okinawa?
Don't come for me, but one thing I don't like about Okinawa, or that just kind of concerns me, is the amount of change that's happening. Since when I was 10 years old, I see a lot more of fast food. Also, learning the language. I learned that Okinawa has its own language, and I didn't know that for years. So to also hear that it's just kind of dying out, that's something I don't really like. Yeah, I feel like your language is connected to your past, your ancestors, who you are, your history, your culture. And so for it to just be dying out is kind of sad, especially since there are elderly here who are still alive and could still teach it, you know? So, the driving. No, because I'm so passionate about this. The drivers, the little Tanto cars and the K cars, they're so slow. But yeah, otherwise, no, there's nothing else that I don't like about Okinawa.
Is there any interesting story in your Okinawan life?
I have a lot, but the one that stuck out to me was one day I was working and this elderly lady came from like furthest end of Okinawa to send money to her daughter in the States. So she comes in and I guess her daughter married a black guy, so her grandkids are half black, half Japanese. And so since I spoke Japanese and I was just kind of like taking care of her and making sure that she was okay, I guess that she kind of saw me as her grandchild, and she even called her grandkids, and like I talked to her daughter and her grandkids on FaceTime. It was pretty funny, but afterwards she bought me a bento box because, like, I don't know, she was so sweet. Her daughter was really nice too. She loved her daughter's husband. She spoke so highly of him. She said he was sweet, he was kind, he was a gentleman. She absolutely adored him.
Are you going to live the rest of your life in Okinawa?
I think I'll always come back and forth. And there's some businesses I want to start while I'm here, but I'll likely live between Okinawa and Ghana. There's actually a Japanese community there, but I don't know any Okinawans there, so.
Do you have any recommendation for the place to visit in Okinawa?
I go to a lot of scenic areas with like beaches and like hills and trees. No, I can only say to kind of stay away from the touristy areas because you should really see the beauty of Okinawa. It's really nice, so. No place in particular.
Do you have any advice for somebody thinking about coming to Okinawa in the near future?
So if you're coming to visit, don't come during typhoon season. That's like the worst thing you could do. If you do come during the summer, just ready to be hot. Like, it is so hot out here. Honestly, just respect the culture, respect the people. Be careful when you're driving on those small streets because it's wild. You know, I think it would be good to learn Japanese if you're here to live. Okinawa's a pretty chill place. Again, just respect the culture, respect the people, the kids, the elderly.
Do you do some Okinawan-related activities?
So on Instagram, I go out and I talk to taxi drivers. Like, they are so funny. A lot of them, they were born and raised in Okinawa, so their accent is like really thick sometimes. And they just tell me some funny stories. They have no filter, so it's great.
The intention of having it using an educational institution.
琉球の文化は面白いですか?
Do you think tourists are going to come here if the ocean dies?
And heritage artists